Well, police authorities believe actor Gene Hackman may have died 9 days before he and his wife Betsy Arakawa were found dead inside their home in Santa.
The sudden passing of two-time Oscar-winning actor Gene Hackman has left many in shock, especially with the mysterious circumstances surrounding both his and his wife's deaths. As new details unfold, even more startling revelation has come to light. His $80 million will completely exclude his children. Overcome with grief and disbelief, his children have now broken their silence, expressing their heartbreak over being left out of their father's fortune. Stay with us as we take a deep dive into who Gene Hackman chose to leave his wealth to and why his children were left out. Gene Hackman's children in tears as they break their silence after being cut out of his $80 million will. Tears and heartbreak have consumed Gene Hackman's children after they learned they were completely cut out of his $80 million will. The devastating news has left them in shock, and now they are finally breaking their silence. The legendary two-time Oscar-winning actor, 95, and his wife Betsy Arakawa, 65, were found dead at their Santa Fe, New Mexico home on Wednesday, February 26. Legal documents obtained by Entertainment Weekly reveal that Hackman had named Betsy Arakawa as the sole heir to his entire fortune. However, with Betsy Arakawa passing away just days before him, confusion has erupted over who will now inherit the estate. Hackman's three children, Christopher 65, Elizabeth 62, and Leslie 58, were acknowledged in his will, but they were not left any part of his wealth. Instead, Hackman gave full control of his estate and trust to Betsy Arakawa, completely shutting out his children. The revelation has left them in tears, unable to believe that their father's massive fortune was placed beyond their reach. The pain and sadness have only grown as the details of Hackman's estate plan become clearer. According to court records obtained by Entertainment Weekly, Hackman ensured that Betsy Arakawa would receive the entire GB revocable trust by appointing her as the successor trustee of the Gene Hackman Living Trust in 1995. His will, signed on June 7, 2005, makes his intentions clear, stating, "I give my entire estate to Betsy Arakawa." For Hackman's children, the weight of this decision is unbearable. Sources close to the family say that they have been overwhelmed with emotion, crying over the shocking betrayal and struggling to make sense of it all. After years of being part of their father's life, they are now left to pick up the pieces, wondering why they were excluded. Hackman had his three children with his first wife, Faye Maltese, whom he married in 1956. They divorced in 1986, and in 1991 he married Betsy Arakawa, a furniture seller and pianist based in Santa Fe. Gene Hackman had originally chosen his former attorney Michael G. Sutton as the person who would take over handling his affairs if his wife Betsy Arakawa passed away before him. However, Sutton passed away in 2019. Since Betsy Arakawa also died before Hackman, the responsibility automatically shifted to the next designated representative, attorney Julia L. Peters. This detail was outlined in an application for informal probate of will and the appointment of a personal representative, which was officially filed on March 6 and later obtained by Entertainment Weekly. Betsy Arakawa's own will, signed the same day as Hackman's, directed that if she died first, her estate would be transferred to the Gene Hackman Living Trust. However, if Hackman did not survive for at least 90 days after her passing, the entire $80 million estate would be distributed to a charitable trust. With no clear path for Hackman's children to inherit, emotions are running high. After days of grief and silence, Christopher, the eldest son, has finally made his move. TMZ reported that he has hired well-known California trust and estate lawyer Andrew M. Katzenstein, suggesting that he may be preparing to challenge the will. Gene Hackman's decision to leave his children out of his will has led them to take serious action by contesting it. But is challenging the will truly the right choice? Keep watching to find out. Legal expert breaks down the challenges of contesting Gene Hackman's 2005 will. Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy signed their wills in 2005, and challenging the contents of those wills might be difficult, according to a legal expert. David A. Esquibias, a trust and family law attorney who is not involved in this case, told People that since Gene and Betsy were both found dead in their home on February 26, any attempt to dispute their wills would not be easy because they signed them nearly 20 years ago. In this situation, Gene Hackman and his wife didn't sign their wills and trusts in 2025 or 2024, he explained. If they had, there would have been a greater chance of someone contesting them, but these wills were signed back in 2005. He pointed out that this was just 1 year after Hackman's last movie, Welcome to Mooseport. At that time, Hackman was younger and more active, and most likely had full control of his mental abilities, Doherty added. Esquibias also noted that challenging a will that was signed 20 years ago is much harder than challenging one that was signed when someone was near death. When Gene, who was 95, and Betsy, who was 65, signed their wills in June 2005, they named each other as the personal representatives of their estates. Betsy was also chosen as the successor trustee of the Gene Hackman Living Trust. Now that both Gene and Betsy have passed away, Scabies explained that it is unclear who the beneficiaries of Gene's trust are because that information has not been made public. In this case, we don't know who will inherit from Gene Hackman's trust because it hasn't been released to the public or included in the probate process, he said. In California, trusts are usually part of probate, but we haven't seen that happen yet in this case. It is uncertain whether details about Gene's trust will eventually be made public. Without those details, Scabies said, no one can be sure if Gene's 3 adult children, Christopher, 65, Elizabeth, 62, and Leslie, 58, whom he had with his first wife, Faye Maltese, were included. On March 14, TMZ reported that Christopher may have hired trust and estate attorney Andrew M. Katzenstein. Scabies said this hiring is probably just a standard move just to get legal advice and guidance. With his children now contesting the will, how do they truly feel about his passing and his unexpected decision to leave them out? Stay tuned to find out. Gene Hackman's daughters struggle with loss and legal battles over his estate. The passing of Gene Hackman has left his daughters, Elizabeth and Leslie, navigating not just the emotional weight of their loss, but also the mounting complexities surrounding his estate. Recently photographed stepping into a Denny's restaurant in Burbank, California, the sisters appeared reflective, their expressions revealing the delicate balance between sorrow and the daunting reality of handling their father's affairs. Leslie, 58, later opened up about the uncertainty surrounding Hackman's final days, insisting that he had shown no clear signs of declining health. Since she lives in California, she shared that it had been a few months since she last saw or spoke to her father, who preferred to keep a low profile. Despite the time apart, she emphasized that their bond remained strong. We were close. I hadn't talked to them for a couple of months, but everything seemed completely normal, like she explained. The initial shock of his passing left the family scrambling for answers, even considering carbon monoxide poisoning before authorities ruled it out. Now, as they mourn, they are also confronted with the legal and financial implications of their father's will. The suddenness of his death has added another layer of difficulty, leaving them in limbo as they await official confirmation regarding the exact circumstances. With estate matters now at the forefront, Leslie revealed plans to travel to New Mexico to handle legal responsibilities, acknowledging the overwhelming nature of the situation. We weren't expecting this, and now we have to handle everything that comes with it, she said. Beyond their grief, the weight of legal processes surrounding Hackman's inheritance looms large. Questions about how his assets will be distributed and the potential complexities of his will have intensified the strain on his family. While they struggle to process their father's absence, they must also navigate the bureaucratic challenges of settling his affairs. In a heartfelt statement, the family expressed the depth of their sorrow. He was loved and admired by millions around the world for his incredible acting career, but to us, he was always just dad and grandpa. As they await further clarity, Hackman's daughters find themselves not only mourning a Hollywood legend, but also grappling with the unexpected challenges that come with managing the legacy he left behind. Could Gene Hackman's relationship with his children be the reason he left them out of his will? What kind of connection did they share, and how might it have influenced his decision? Stay tuned to find out. Gene Hackman struggles in redemption as a father. Gene Hackman and his first wife, Faye Maltese, welcomed their first child, Christopher Allen Hackman, in 1960. 2 years later, they had a daughter, Elizabeth Jean, followed by another daughter, Leslie Ann, in 1966. Life was not easy for the family in the beginning. They lived in a small apartment in New York while Gene was struggling to make a name for himself as an actor. Their home, a cold water walk-up apartment, had no hot water, no shower, and no central heating. They had to heat water on the stove just to take a bath. As Gene's career progressed, he landed roles on Broadway, which eventually opened doors for him in Hollywood. However, while success brought financial stability, it also created new challenges for his children. In a 2011 interview with GQ, he reflected on the pressures of his rising fame, admitting that for years, he desperately wanted to be recognized for his talent, and once opportunities started coming in, he found it difficult to turn anything down. Even though he had a family, he frequently took jobs that kept him away for long periods, sometimes months at a time. He acknowledged that the temptations of money, recognition, and a fast-paced Hollywood lifestyle were overwhelming for someone who had grown up poor, and he struggled to handle it all. His big break came in 1967 when he landed a supporting role in Bonnie and Clyde. which set him on the path to a long and successful Hollywood career. Over the years, he starred in major films such as Superman and Unforgiven, but his demanding schedule meant he was often absent, which put a strain on his marriage to Faye and affected their family life. Eventually, in 1986, the couple divorced. By then, Gene had settled in California, the state where he was born in 1930. He had become a household name, but the weight of his success made life more complicated for his children. He later admitted that his fame hung over their heads, making it difficult for Christopher, Elizabeth, and Leslie to live normal lives. In a 2000 interview with the Irish Independent, he described the struggles his children faced as the offspring of a celebrity, revealing that his absence during their childhood had been a challenge. He regretted that he could not always be present for them as they grew up, and acknowledged that his fame followed them wherever they went. Among his children, his relationship with Christopher suffered the most, and he admitted that over time they lost touch. In 2011, he told GQ that he had drifted away from his son when it came to giving him guidance, largely because he was away so often filming on location. He reflected on how difficult it was to be absent for months at a time and then return home, expecting to step back into a parental role. The gap created by his long absences made it difficult for him to provide the kind of support and advice his son needed. In 1991, Gene married his second wife, pianist Betsy Arakawa. The two built a home together, and her presence played a key role in helping him reconnect with his children. A Chicago Tribune report from 1994 noted that Betsy actively encouraged him to reach out to Christopher, Elizabeth, and Leslie, inviting them over and fostering opportunities for them to rebuild their bond. These moments became deeply meaningful to Gene, allowing him to rekindle his relationships with his children in ways that he had not been able to before. By 2020, insiders confirmed that his relationship with his children, and now his grandchildren, had grown much stronger. A source told Closer Weekly that Gene still carried some regrets about not being as present as he wished he had been when his kids were younger. However, he had since built a close relationship with them and their children, making the most of the time they now shared. With tensions running high in the Hackman family, what were the true circumstances behind Gene Hackman's passing? Keep watching to find out. Gene Hackman and wife's mysterious final days. Legendary actor Gene Hackman passed away from heart disease about a week after his wife, Betsy Arakawa, died in another part of their home in New Mexico. Officials confirmed recently that Ms. Arakawa had succumbed to a rare virus linked to rodents, putting to rest speculation surrounding the couple's deaths. Their passing was attributed to natural causes, yet it raised new concerns about Mr. Hackman's mental state and why they were not discovered sooner. Ms. Arakawa, 65, was last seen running errands on February 11th, but there were no indications that she engaged in any activities after that, leading authorities to believe she may have died that same day. Mr. Hackman, 95, is believed to have passed around February 18th. According to Dr. Heather Jarrell, New Mexico's chief medical examiner, Mr. Hackman was found lying near his cane in the mudroom, while Ms. Arakawa was discovered in a bathroom. Although common medications were scattered on the counter near her, toxicology tests confirmed they played no role in her death. Their bodies remained undiscovered until February 26 when a maintenance worker arrived at the house, noticed no one was responding, and alerted a security guard, who then contacted 911. Authorities believe Mr. Hackman, who had advanced Alzheimer's disease, may not have realized that his wife had died. Given his condition, it was also unclear whether he was capable of taking care of himself. His autopsy revealed an empty stomach, suggesting he had not eaten for a prolonged period, although he was not dehydrated. Sheriff Aiden Mendoza of Santa Fe County stated there was no indication that Mr. Hackman attempted to reach out for help following his wife's death. Despite the confirmation of natural causes, questions remained. Sheriff Mendoza acknowledged that the timeline of events within the house is uncertain. It's difficult to understand what was happening in his mind at the time, he said. When asked if Mr. Hackman might have been trying to seek help before he died, the sheriff admitted, "We may never know the answer to that." Dr. Jarrell determined that Ms. Arakawa died from hantavirus, a dangerous disease spread by inhaling airborne particles from the urine or droppings of infected rodents, particularly deer mice, common in New Mexico. The virus typically starts with flu-like symptoms before progressing into severe respiratory distress, heart failure, and lung failure. Dr. James Lawler, an infectious disease expert at the University of Nebraska Medical Center, explained that the infection causes blood vessels in the lungs to leak, flooding them with fluid while also inflaming the heart. Authorities reviewed security footage from February 11th, showing Ms. Arakawa at a grocery store and pharmacy, but it was unclear if she was already experiencing severe symptoms at that time. Most patients seek medical attention before their condition becomes critical, Dr. Lawler noted. Hantavirus is rare but often fatal. Aaron Phipps, a public health veterinarian in New Mexico, reported that the state typically sees between 1 and 7 cases annually, with a mortality rate exceeding 40% over the past 50 years. While health officials deemed the couple's home a low-risk hantavirus environment, they did find signs of rodents and other structures on the property. Mr. Hackman's autopsy revealed severe heart disease, with evidence of previous heart attacks and multiple heart surgeries. Although he did not contract hantavirus, his Alzheimer's disease was considered a contributing factor in his death. His health was already in a very fragile state, Dr. Jarrell stated. Adding to the tragedy, one of the couple's dogs, an Australian Kelpie mix named Zena, was found dead inside a crate. The state veterinarian suspects starvation or dehydration, though a necropsy is being conducted to confirm the cause. 2 other dogs, Bear and Nikita, both German Shepherds, were found alive and are now receiving care. Joey Padilla, the owner of Santa Fe Tales, a dog daycare and boarding service, spoke of the deep bond between Miss Arakawa and Zena, recalling how she had transformed the once rejected shelter dog into a loyal companion. He is now awaiting legal direction regarding the future of the surviving dogs. Mr. Hackman, a 2-time Academy Award winner, and Ms. Arakawa, a classical musician and former home goods store owner, had led a quiet private life in recent years. Neighbors recall seeing them on peaceful walks with their dogs or driving around with their beloved pets. Despite their preference for solitude, they were known in the community as warm and friendly to fellow dog lovers. The couple lived in a secluded area at the end of a cul-de-sac in the gated Santa Fe Summit community. Their home lacked security cameras both inside and outside, making it difficult for authorities to piece together the final days of their lives. Last week, officials ruled out carbon monoxide poisoning, confirming that neither Mr. Hackman nor Ms. Arakawa had been exposed to toxic gas. What do you think about Gene Hackman deciding to leave his children out of his $80 million will? Was it fair considering they were estranged for years but later reconnected? Let us know in the comments section below. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you found it interesting. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the next video shown on your screen to catch up on your favorite celebrity stories. See you there.